You're watching Fanboy Versus with your hosts, JD Church, Nicole Hale, Chris Triplette, and Chris McFeely.
And you are watching Fanboy Versus. I am your host, JD, joined this week by Nicole Hale and Chris McFeely. Chris Triplette is out and therefore is played by the Samuel L. Jackson live-action version of Nick Fury, of which we now have like 4 versions of this character or something like that. So
I can think of 5.
5? Okay.
So Ultimate Comics.
Okay, which was the first in the comic.
You got the movie.
Got the movie. Okay.
You got Marcus Johnson, Nick Fury Jr. in the mainstream universe.
Okay.
You got Black Nick Fury from Wolverine and the X-Men and the Avengers cartoon, that little shared universe. Yep. And you got Black Nick Fury from X-Men Evolution. 5.
Mm-hmm. And then there's Ultimate Spider-Man TV show, right? Isn't that...
Yep. That'd be another one. That'd be 6.
And you said Mightiest Heroes.
That happened.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but everybody tries to forget that one exists.
So, this week it is Fanboy versus Justice New stuff. I don't know. But there's things that Chris McFeely didn't want to talk about, but I'm going to make him talk about them anyway. So he'll talk about them in the news in a second, which will be now. Go ahead.
Well, there's not much news because, NYCC happened last week. So all the big news has been announced. There's just a couple of... There's not even news, there's just lots of rumors going about, about films, There's a rumor that the Sentinels could be in the second X-Men First Class. I would be in favor of that. There's a rumor that Famke Janssen might have recorded a scene as Jean Grey for the new Wolverine film, to go along with that rumor that Patrick Stewart might be coming back to do something for it as well. There's a rumor that an actress whose name is Shailene Woodley might be Mary Jane in the second Amazing Spider-Man movie. So about the only confirmed piece of actual news that came out with regard to films is the fact that they claim they've set a summer 2015 date for the Justice League film. That's gonna happen.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and part of this is supposedly because they settled the long-standing, well, not settled, but ruled on the long-standing Superman suit, which if they would have lost, supposedly they wouldn't have been able to use Superman in film after 2014, but now that they won the case, then they're good to go. So they went ahead and said, "Yeah, 2015, we're doing that Justice League movie."
I think people need to understand that we're actually no further no closer to it happening than we last bunch of times. They had a script and a date and actually some actors, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen because they got a sniff of that Avengers money and they want that. But I have no confidence in DC whatsoever.
But it's the
Warner Brothers, DC, whatever you want to say.
It's the complete. Marvel built their entire movie brand around doing this, They set up the characters in their own films and then brought them together in one film. So now that you've seen all these cool guys, now you're getting to see them together in one film. And now DC is going to take their pantheon of confusing characters and release them all in one film, and then try to spin movies out of that.
It is just the complete misunderstanding of why Avengers succeeded.
Well, and
you could do Batman, Superman. You could do that.
Well, but they screwed that up.
Film.
But they've even screwed that up because now they don't have, they've already ended the.
No, well, you could do a Batman, Superman film. I don't believe that
a team-up film, not just to Justice League, but you could do a team-up film.
And you could be really
I
cheap.
don't believe you would need a Batman series of films or a Superman series of films to sell that.
Yeah.
The world and everybody knows that. But, you know, you're not going to be able to sell Batman, Superman, and some other dudes that you, honest to Christ, have never heard of.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be great, actually. Just do a movie called World's Finest and have it be Batman and Superman and have them fight and make it really on the cheap and just have them fight composite Superman. And then...
2 actors!
And then you can have the whole film with 2 actors in space so there's no other people around. I mean, that'd be great and cheap. It wouldn't hardly be out anything.
We're never going to get Martian Manhunter the movie.
No. How do you even relate to that? I don't know how.
We're never going to get Hawkman the movie.
Hell, we're never
What about
gonna...
Aquaman? Fingers crossed.
It's almost sellable based on what they've
Almost.
done with the character now, but it's never going to happen. I mean, to be fair, DC is kind of taking the smart tactic with this in as much as it's going to be really fucking hard to sell individual Justice League members' films without them already being known. Like, they fucked up Green Lantern, and I've said it before, Flash is their last chance.
Yeah.
Because they don't seem to be able to get a Wonder Woman movie off the ground without testing the waters with her. They're never going to manage Hawkman or Aquaman or Martian Manhunter on their own first. So in that regard, I guess those guys actually do kind of have to appear in a Justice League movie first before they can then be spun off into films.
So,
Well, see, if you think about it, that's what Avengers is doing. They're going to be spinning off. Well, rumor has it, you know.
Yeah, but they could
What
never get a
about-
Hawkeye film or a Black Widow film
No.
before.
Well, see, that's
no. Is this just a thing of like DC's characters? Like, are DC's characters just so big and wild in terms of like their origin and who they are that it's just not feasible to do an individual film? I mean, maybe this is the only way that it's gonna work, like to do a team movie like it, because if you really try to do an individual Manhunter film or an individual Wonder Woman film, it would never fly. But maybe you could do a movie with all of them together.
I think big and wild is a charitable euphemism for super lame.
I mean, yeah, well, okay, but yeah, I mean,
I know, to be fair,
you know what I mean?
Mark.
It's like these characters have, I mean, Space Cop with a magic ring that can do anything you can think of, you know, last surviving Martian that can, like, phase through walls and shapeshift, and, you know, Greek goddess. I mean, that's almost attainable because it's like Thor analog. Okay, you can kinda, like,
you could, it's
you
just,
know,
it's
but-
the muddle of iconography that surrounds Wonder Woman. Thor's very straightforward. Wonder Woman is not. Wonder Woman has quite a confused, muddled premise of about 3 or 4 different basic conceits fighting for space and all of them failing.
But if you go back, like a lot of Marvel characters fit in well to that sort of hero's journey story, where it's like they're normal people that extraordinary things happen to, and then they become, you know, heroes. Whereas a lot of DC characters are like from the start, you know, in some way. Like Superman was born with his powers and then raised on Earth.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I mean, that's the primary difference between Marvel and DC, and I always enjoyed how it was highlighted, it was highlighted explicitly as part of the story in JLA versus Avengers, if you've ever read that. Like, it actually deals with the fact that Marvel heroes are people who have to fight hard to keep their world on an even keel, and DC characters are icons and paragons whom their world loves. And if you look at the New 52 and you see what the one thing that has really been taken away is, it's that.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I've been saying since it started that they've kind of marveled up their characters with the New 52.
Yeah. And so I don't know. And that's why I wondered too, like, are they gonna, like, maybe they'll use like the New 52, like Justice League, as a that first 6-issue run as kind of maybe a model for the first film.
Yeah, I think that's a perfectly fine choice for a first film as well. I mean, it wasn't a fantastic comic. It was a big, dumb, widescreen action sort of comic. And if they were to do that straight, that would really highlight why you need to have separate films for these guys first. Oh, by the way, in the middle of this alien invasion, here is a mythical demigoddess from an island where only women live. What does that have to do with anything? No, it's just what... Okay, right.
Just
no.
But that's the whole thing is like,
that.
all of that stuff you just accept and go because the story... It's almost like the story of that first 6 issues, like you're so carried along by the whole apocalypse invasion that it's just sort of like, this is a goddess, this is a space cop, this is a super person, this is a guy in a bat suit, and we're all gonna, that's a water guy.
I remember something Peter David said when he was talking about the Silver Surfer, the film, the Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. He said, you can basically ask your audience to make one big leap.
Sure.
And in the course of Rise of the Silver Surfer, that was the silver dude on the surfboard. Okay. Now, as comic fans, we're used to the visual of the Silver Surfer and the idea behind him. We don't find it that ridiculous. It's a naked fucking silver dude on a flying fucking surfboard. It is retarded, okay? And that has to be sold to the audience. So the idea that you could actually get your audience on board with that and then have to ask them to make the second jump again to the giant pink guy wearing a building for a hat was never going to happen.
Right.
That when you're already asking your audience to believe with the alien thing and everything, like, so you got Superman, you got Green Lantern, you got Darkseid, you got all the invading going on in a world of ordinary people like Batman already, and then you want them to believe in magic demi-goddesses from islands that are entirely made of people, who's going to have some kind of origin thrown in there as well. He's not just going to appear out of nowhere if it's a putting the team together type story. It's just too much. Which is why I would believe if they get anywhere close to making this film, it probably won't have Wonder Woman in it.
Yeah, but then what would they replace her with?
Black Canary. It worked for Mark Waid.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So, we'll see what happens 2015. They've also... I mean, the date coincides with the date for Avengers 2, which is just a...
Like, what are they even thinking?
That's
It's not going to happen.
No.
Then, anyway.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's just an awful idea anyway. It's like, okay, we're going to put out our movie and compete with Avengers 2. Really?
A complete misunderstanding of why Avengers succeeded.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you can put a dude in an iron suit and a god... and a hulked out guy and, the Captain America dude. You put them all together in a film because you've already done their films and established who they are and where they came from.
Yeah. And it's still, basically, they've already established science and magic is just aliens.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and they've kind of did that. I mean, they hinted at that a little bit with the Justice League introduction in New 52, where they took the apocalypse technology and made
but that doesn't matter because magic in the DC universe is magic.
Right, magic is a very separate thing.
Yeah, it's a thing.
It's the only way to beat up Superman, which is awesome. But all right, any other news then that we should know about?
I think that was everything that I had.
Okay.
If there was anything else, I think all the swearing pushed it out of my brain.
Okay. Very good. Very good then. Okay. Well then, let's get to some recommendations for the week. We have a little bit of extra time, maybe, since we have no Chris Triplette. So, So read Spider-Man. That's all I can tell you.
Spider-Man did come out this week, did it?
No, it didn't.
Next week.
Yeah, so that's why we're really okay, because he didn't even have a Spider-Man book to talk about. So, all right, then we'll start with Nicole.
All right, well, I've got two to recommend, just because you might want to get your little shots out, because they're two of my favorites. So, first one I'm going to talk about, I haven't talked about this one for a long time, is the Dark Tower. This is the last of this series of stories. It's the Man in Black. And it's very trippy. In our last issue, Roland had to make a sacrifice, and unfortunately it was to put Jake, pretty much to kill off Jake, which is the little kid that he came to love and adore. And so now he wants his revenge. He finally is caught up to the Man in Black, his ultimate enemy, and he can't kill him. The Man in Black is not killable. So he unloaded all of his guns on him, and the Man in Black is like, you can't kill me. This has all been for nothing. But he's like, since you're here, we're not going to do any, we're not going to let this just go to waste. So Roland's just pissed off like no other. So what happens in this is a very scientific, basically he tells Roland his future with tarot cards. But after he tells him his future, he shows him the way of how the universe was created. And Roland's freaked out because he's living in a world that this hasn't really been explained. And basically what you see is him going through the creation of the universe, and then it ends on a blade of grass. So basically it shows you like how big everything is, but yet it could be so small. It's kind of almost like Men in Black, you know. Everything in this universe could fit onto a blade of this single grass. It's all in perspective. So then he tells him that that's what his future's like. This is a very wordy comic, and you have to read it to actually get it all, because it's just like one of those ones that you're starting to think like, whoa, you know. It makes you realize how small you really are. So basically, he tells his future and what's going to be going on in the next few series. And if you've ever read the Dark Towers, you know what's going on. Pretty much, he tells the future of his quartet, the people that are going to be joining him on this journey. But once he wakes up from this dream about the universe and stuff, he realizes he's been asleep for 10 years. So Roland's an older man. He's not feeling up to par. And that's basically the conclusion. He needs to find his quartet now, and the journey moves on. But again, this is one of those, it's very scientific. If you want something that will blow your mind, that makes you want to think for a few days, this is a single issue you can pick up and be like, whoa. So very, very highly recommended.
I do like the part where you said this is very scientific, and then followed that sentence with, he read his future with tarot cards.
Yeah, well, because, okay, with tarot cards,
Like,
It's just alien technology, Jay.
and then he takes him into this other world of how everything was created, how small Roland really is, but yet he can make a big difference in other people's futures. And it's just, you got to read it to actually understand it. It's, like I said, it's very wordy. This one actually took me like a good half hour to read because it's really wordy, but it's worth it. Trust me, people. If you've never read The Dark Tower, just this one issue would be like, okay, cool. So, yeah. And the other one I'm going to recommend is, get your shots out, people. Marvel Zombies Halloween. Yay! McFeely read this one too.
Yeah, I did read this.
This one is just fun. Because last week we were talking about Halloween Eve. That one was a little too predictable. But here's a good Halloween story. So you see a mother and son. They're trying to fight off the zombies. Did you know who this was at first, McFeely?
Well, I thought it was just strange at all that we were looking at normal people living in the Marvel Zombies world, because it's been established that in the Marvel Zombie... well, first of all, so when I saw some normal people, I thought, so is this the Marvel Zombies world, or is this just one of those Marvel Zombies books where it's just about zombies and it's not about the Marvel Zombies, the way the Marvel Zombies books have gone over the last couple of series. But we do find out as it goes on that, yes, it is the Marvel Zombies world, so I guess this must be set, like, really early in its history or something before they F the whole planet. And no, I mean... That's really the trick of the issue, in answer to the question, is that they just seem to be some people. Then it turns out that they're not just some people. And we really shouldn't tell you that they're not just some people. But they're not.
Yes. and it's really because they're just trying to fight off these zombies, and they hear something in the walls, and so they knock down the wall, and they find the cutest little black kitty. Oh my gosh, these little eyes. are so adorable. And of course, she gives her kid the responsibility of looking after the cat. And of course, they also find an old calendar, and they talk about dates, and they realize that Halloween's coming up. And the boy doesn't know what Halloween's about, so she tells him about it. Of course, he's excited. He's like candy and dressing up, and she's trying to tell him, we can't do this. This is just not. We don't. It's a celebration, and we don't really have anything to celebrate. He's like, why not? Why not? One of my favorite things in this comic comes up. They found an old costume that fits him, and it's a Wolverine costume. And he's upset because he wanted to be Spider-Man. And it's just really cute. But she has to go out because she wants to make his first Halloween very special. So she tries to venture out to go get some candy. Well, while that happens, the cat runs away, and he goes out and tries to find his lost kitty. And that's where the adventure begins.
Yeah. And then zombies happen, basically. and that's the rest of the
But he goes knocking on the door, and he's trying to find his cat. He's still dressed up as Wolverine, and the one guy's like, you're a little early. Halloween's not till tomorrow. And I just thought, he's got the cutest face, this little kid. I don't want to tell you who he is.
No, we don't want to tell anybody who these people are.
But it's really good. And here's my other favorite part. He's thinking he sees his cat, but no, it's a rabid black squirrel. Now what happens when there's squirrels around? Can you guess who's a zombie?
Oh my god.
I mean, we get. Sorry, say it.
Go for it.
Well, it is Zombie Squirrel Girl.
Oh
backed up by Zombie Avengers Academy.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
But Zombie Squirrel Girl is awesome.
Wow.
Yeah,
Scary.
and of course, now they're being attacked by the zombies. He's like being cornered. They're all like trying to get after this little kid. Yeah, and I really don't want to spoil the rest of it for you.
No,
Just
there's nothing more to say here. You have to read the rest.
Because there's who this kid is. You're just like, oh, cool. Who his mom is like, all right, So really, go read this. This is just a fun one-shot. Love it. Like I said, Zombie Squirrel Girl. What more do you need? But there's a lot more to it. So.
Yeah. Every time I think Marvel Zombies has basically played itself out to a point where there's nothing left to do, which has happened multiple times at this stage. Every single time, it is Fred Van Lente who wrote this, manages to find something new to do, even if it's just for one issue like this. It's like after we got to the end of Marvel Zombies 2 and Kirkman really seemed to have nothing left and it ended on a bit of a dank squib, and I thought, that's that then. That'll do. That's grand. And Fred Van Lente comes in with the third Marvel Zombies 3 and he suddenly puts this whole new twist on it. Then we get through to the end of Marvel Zombies 4 and I'm like, okay, we're about done with that. And then he comes in and teams up with various other zombie novelists to write Marvel Zombies Return, which seems to bring the thing to an absolute end through the use of time travel. And I'm like, yeah, okay, right, that'll be that then. And then he comes in and does Marvel Zombies 5, which was where we have Howard the Duck and Machine Man traveling through parallel realities to find different kinds of zombies. And I'm like, yeah, okay, all right, I get it. You keep finding shit to do with this. All right, I get it. Stop rubbing my nose and how good you are. And he did it again.
This is a one-shot everyone should get. For sure.
Awesome. Very
it's so much
worth time. And the funny thing is that it's not just a Halloween horror comedy. It's actually quite sweet as well.
Yes, it is. It's got a really good story to it. Oh, I actually wish this was more than just a one-shot because I really want to know more about this family now. So, and if you know who the family, you just read it so you know who the family is, people. No, don't want to spoil that for you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
Zombies rule.
So I guess that's me. Okay. Two things that I'm gonna recommend here this week. One of them, the first one, holy crap, you should be reading Hawkeye. this is to kind of go back and backtrack something that we've said before, but this is a book that when it was announced was like, okay, Matt Fraction, Hawkeye, okay, you know.
We were just off the back of Fraction really letting us down on Fear Itself.
Yeah, and we're kind of like, okay, great, more hipster stuff. And this, I cannot tell you how many times, like, literally laughed out loud reading this issue. I mean, it's so simple. I mean, it's just a car heist sort of chase story, and yet it's really well written. It's really well drawn. I mean, it's really well put together. It's very coherent. There's great lines. It's just damned fun. And not what I would have expected. Like, it's Clint Barton. It's Hawkeye. It's like, it's that dude with arrows on the Avengers. It's just not what you expect out of a book like this. And, and they full on up front are like, this is what Hawkeye does when he's not an Avenger. And it's totally great. You're like, this guy deserves like 4 movies and way more credit. Like, if they did a movie like this. But I mean, and there's just funny shit. Like, there's one sequence in here after he's just slept with a woman and then they get attacked and he's completely naked, and so he's like jumping across the room.
I saw Clint's little butt crack there.
Well, he's jumping across the room as he's getting shot at, like you do. And of course, right where the junk would be, they put the classic Hawkeye head logo right over it. But I mean, there's just fun stuff in this. The interaction, in particular between him and Kate, is great. This is a scene like when he gets in the car, and he's like, okay, go, go, go. And she's just looking at him. It's like, what? The abs. He's like, just drive. Putting clothes on, but yeah, and you got all of his like trick arrows are in this as well, which some work better than others, but it's just a damned lot of fun, and essentially it starts out like one of the best parts of the through story is it starts out with him saying that things look really bad, but this is only his 3rd worst idea of the day, and he's had exactly 9 terrible ideas. And then as the book opens, it's like, I think I'm going to finally organize all of my arrows. Bad idea 9. So, if you've not checked out Hawkeye yet, do yourself a favor and check it out. It is a lot of fun. My only DC book this week, which I'll talk about briefly, is Before Watchmen, Minutemen. Now, I've expressed my general meh at a lot of these Watchmen books. They're okay. They're not great. Really not digging what JMS is doing, but that's no surprise.
Are you ready for Moloch?
F my life. Anyway, the 2 books that have continued to be the best, both involve one man, Darwin Cook. But that would be the Minutemen and Silk Spectre books. And Minutemen is out this week, and wow, talk about a book that, I mean, I don't, the story involves a couple of different separate stories thematically tied together in the beginning and then brought back together in the end. Sort of revolving around one, the death of Silhouette, and the comedian's time in World War II, and then just sort of the things and repercussions that go through that point. But Darwin opens this book up by making a point of how we as humans get through the horrors of life through a form of denial, where it's like if you just say a very dry fact, you can sort of just accept that and go on. You can accept that millions of people, millions of Jews were burned to death in World War II, because that's just a fact. That's just the thing that's stated. But when that story gets mentioned within the context of a narrative, suddenly it becomes like very personal and uncomfortable. And so that's mentioned at the beginning of this book, and then the rest of this book is taking really horrible things and making them very, very personal. And by the end, you sort of feel oddly, uncomfortable, and yet you sort of get it. I mean, I don't want to go through the whole book, but, one of the things that we've said is that Darwin gets the comedian. The other books, the comedian book included, they don't get comedian. This gets comedian. The comedian story in here is just a straight up damn good comedian story that tells you a lot about some formidable times for the characters, some formation times of the character's psyche at a time at which it was convenient to do so. And man, if it doesn't just like turn your stomach and then the denouement just grab you, I don't know, but wow, I don't know. Anything you're thinking, Chris McFeely, as I'm talking about it, or I don't know how much detail I want to go into.
It is a really dense comic.
26 pages, and it's like it read like a book.
Milks the Watchmen 9-panel grid stuff and goes even further than the standard 9 panels sometimes. Actually, yeah, 10. But it feels like it's longer than it is. There's so many different stories going on in here. It's narrated. Well, it's not. I think everybody except Hooded Justice and Captain Metropolis basically get a little bit of a story in here, but that's because they seem to be sidelining them rather deliberately, and the conclusion of this issue really opens up a whole other side to this story that was really never even suggested before. That I want to see where that goes now.
Yeah, and it does seem like we're coming back around, like you said, to their story. But
it's. I was really surprised when it turned out Silhouette had died. That we had got ahead to that point already in the history of the Minutemen.
Mm-hmm.
I thought at first that seems awfully early. The team's still together, but the way Watchmen originally presents it is just kind of like the team sort of goes its own way all at once, and then everybody dies, sort of thing in the vagueness. This is a story right now about the team collapsing, essentially.
Yeah. We're hitting the. And this is issue 4 of 6.
Not in
so,
big ways, though. That's not in these big ways, but you're seeing Mothman's mental state slowly degrade. You're seeing what the things that what Silk Spectre does in this issue.
Oh my God! I was like,
Now,
did not.
Is this the 4th issue?
Yeah, this is 4 of 6.
Watchmen?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's 2 more left.
2 more left.
2 or 1.
Yeah. Yeah, the Silk Spectre part of this was like added a whole nother dimension to that character that just, really took me by surprise. I did not expect that. And it's great because that's followed up by Eddie, because Eddie, talks to her after that, and so you get this great follow-up of Eddie's story, going through.
And it leads to this sudden moment of sympathy and understanding between two characters that previously seemed like they couldn't have ever been more different, that suddenly makes a scenario that happens in the original Watchmen suddenly seem all the more feasible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It adds an element that makes you go, oh, now I can get it. And that's, to me, that's the whole point of this. It's like, and that's, again, where Darwin gets it. It's not about just telling the story of these characters, so you can go, oh, cool, And that seems to be like...
You never know. It could turn out that this child killer is Moloch.
It could. It could. But but again, even if it does, you've still got other stuff. Again, Brian Azzarello's work on the comedian, he's trying to do something with the comedian, but it's just not getting there for me. And he's not getting the comedian, it doesn't seem, in the same way that
I mean,
Darwin
he's doing
Cook
comedians
is.
Well, it
now.
seems like
everyone's
everyone's saying that. It seems like, yeah.
Well,
He's doing the comedian's Nam time, which is at a point in his life when the comedian has settled right into being who he will be for the rest of his life. There's
Yes.
nothing to mine there. This story, set in World War II, is a transformative event for the comedian.
yeah, but yet,
And I'm like, this is the sort of thing the comedian miniseries should be doing.
yes.
But it's not.
Well, but even
And
at
I mean,
that,
I can kind of understand why it wasn't, because they still want to maintain Minutemen as being like the earliest point in the timeline.
right.
So I'm guessing that's why the comedian is sort of stuck plumbing a dry well instead of actually doing the
But-
more eventful period of the character's
But
life.
even at that, like, I have a hard time believing this character goes on to be the guy that cries because JFK got assassinated.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was, regardless of whether it's plumbing depths of any kind or anything, that was still just dumb.
Like, yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's like he's trying, Brian Azzarello is trying to do something with that, but then his Rorschach is just seemingly pointless. But
Well, that's it. There's nothing really wrong with the Rorschach, but it's like, what are we learning here? You
Not
know?
learning
I
anything.
mean, why am I not getting maybe the full story of the? I mean, I guess that's the problem, is that the transformative event for Rorschach is already very much covered in the
Right.
original Watchmen, and there's nowhere to go there. There's nothing to build upon that. We get the full story of that. So like there's nothing else to do. You are
Yeah.
just stuck doing a Rorschach story. And
Jay-
that's all
and-
the Rorschach miniseries is.
And all JMS can do is another Rorschach story that he's calling Night Owl.
Well, to be fair, that did sort of swerve away from being about that when he hooked up with. I mean, have you still been reading that?
I'm reading everything. Yep, and it's still.
Well, I mean, that seems to be.
it.
It's a dumb way to go on it. It's a dumb thing to latch onto from the original Watchmen to explore, but it basically seems to be about exploring the psychological thing that Night Owl has about costumes and sex.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like he spent what 2 issues boning this chick in
I
costume.
do not believe for a second that he had sex with anyone before he slept with Laurie.
Oh, you don't?
Nope.
Really?
Nope. I totally think he was a virgin before then.
Oh no, I don't think so.
Oh yeah, yeah. I totally believe that he. I mean, he had. He's the Boy Scout. He's the complete innocent of the group.
Well, that doesn't mean anything. I don't think that would have ever been the intention with it. He was not a young guy. No, I believe he would have enjoyed himself.
Nah.
No, I don't think so.
Nah.
No.
I don't know. I mean, it's just like I said, and that's why I say it's like my perspective. But even at that, I don't see him going that direction. I don't know. But anyway, I mean, it's an interpretation.
It's not particularly good, and it's not a great idea. But it's about the only thing Night Owl has going on in the original Watchmen that you can really explore, which is that he can't get it up unless he's in costume, basically.
Right.
And in his miniseries, we have him doing the nasty with some delightful young lady.
Yeah.
In costume, and as soon as they, take the costumes off, that's when everything goes wrong.
Right. Yeah. But still, it's like, and then half the book is Rorschach. So, anyway.
They've just done Night Owl and Rorschach.
Yeah, if they would have done Night Owl and Rorschach, that would have been fine. But I get that feeling that, like, JMS is like, man, I really wanted to write Rorschach. I'll just write him anyway.
Watchmen Team Up presents Rorschach and Night Owl.
Rorschach. Oh, God. World's something or other. But anyway. But this is good. But to come back around to Minutemen, I mean, if you want a really good depiction of, the comedian, this is very fucking dark, though. Like, but it's in the right way, in the sense that, like I said, the beginning of this book totally tells you what you need to know, which is that as long as fucked up shit is only talked about in the very clinical sense and on, like, the news, you're fine. As soon as it's a personal story, it fucks with your head, and then you feel sick. And so what does he do? He takes something that seems very distant and then makes it very personal, and tells you a very personal story, and now you feel sick. Good.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Good. Because that's exactly what it was supposed to do. So
It still keeps catching me off guard every time somebody swears.
a little bit, yeah.
Just because
yeah.
it's the Darwin Cook artwork, and it's like I'm not used to equating those two things with one another. Not that I'm saying they don't go together. I'm just not used to seeing them together like this, and I'm just not because it doesn't have a Vertigo tag on it, so I'm not used to everybody f-bombing. I just forget that I'm not reading that sort of comic, and then somebody f's and blinds like this this general. What's in this Arlie Ermy?
Oh my
general.
god, this was the best part too, because I was going to read this part because it totally caught me off guard, and I thought it was hilarious because I never heard the term before. But comedian's talking about his first deployment, and he's like under this captain named Peterman, and he comes in like first day, and he's got this big shiny helmet on and his typical sort of comedian looking costume. He's like, "You see anything fucking funny around here, Mr. Comedian?" "No, sir." "Well, I do. I see a jackass in a shiny helmet sent by a bunch of fucking politicians to paint a happy face on this goat rodeo." It's like,
all due respect,
Oh my
sir.
gosh.
And go fuck yourself.
"Did you just read my mind? Because we are fucking A1 simpatico. Now get the hell out of my tent."
Somebody get me a proper helmet.
Pipe in mouth the whole time.
Yeah,
too.
the whole time, that's probably not efficient. But he is this half Sergeant Rock, half Arlie Ermy, standing there like some big Mary while that poor savage suffered.
Goat rodeo was the line that got me though.
It's a war, laughing boy.
So anyway, very good. You should be reading the entire Minutemen run if you have not.
I don't think there was ever any doubt this was going to be the best of them, but that was best for a relative value of good, and this has really you have to recalculate that relative value after this.
Yeah. Well, and I still love the irony that the one guy that was like, I don't know. I don't think so. No. And he's the one that's like doing some of the best work out of it. So,
Yeah.
Awesome how that goes. It seems to be that there's a respect level for the work, and it's really coming through in these. So if you've written off the entirety of Before Watchmen, cool, I get that, totally understand. But you might want to read Minutemen. Just to see.
I don't know. I'll still wait. I'm sorry.
I mean, do it now.
Great. It sounds great.
Do it later when it gets collected. That's fine too. But do yourself a
That's the way to do
favor. Yeah, do yourself a favor and read it, because but don't let that fool you into reading everything else. Because,
what about Silk Spectra? I thought
Silk Spectra's good too.
Read that too.
Yeah, and that one's good too.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, those are.
I did like the first couple issues I read of that, but
No, and that totally it. Like that's what I'm saying. Like if you're questioning like whether any of these books have any kind of merit, read Minutemen, read Silk Spectre, and then you'll be fine. Unless you're like completely sadistic like me and you're going to continue to read every single issue of Before Watchmen. I'm reading it so you don't have to, because I can tell you, what I recommend and not. So highly recommend reading Minutemen. Anyway, that's me. Mr. Feely, what you got, sir?
Just going for a random smattering of things again. I couldn't let Mighty Thor number 21, the final part of Everything Burns, pass without touching upon it.
oh yeah, this was delayed, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't that it was delayed. It's just that parts 2 through 4 came out weekly last month, and then this came out just at the regular time this month. That was all there was to it. They just made us wait an extra 2 weeks for the conclusion, And then it's like you get to the first page and Loki and Leia are almost kissing. Oh, so many feelings! And then Thor comes bursting in with an army behind him, and it's like, your timing remains impeccable, brother.
Oh, poor Loki.
But once again, even though this is an issue of Thor, this is a journey into mystery story that's just got Thor in it. because they go off to the Manchester Gods, and they get the help from the Manchester Gods, and then they get Twilight Shadow, and they merge Twilight Shadow with Mjolnir to make a hammer sword that he beats the sorcerer with. And Odin pops up and sorts everything out, and everything ends well, essentially. And they all lived happily ever after, as it says on the very last page with the black on the white text. Yeah, and turn the page, and it did. No, really, they did. I'll go on then. Very well, if you insist. And then you get the 2-page Gillen-written epilogue, which is going to lead into the final issue of Journey into Mystery, in which, without giving away what it is, basically the last lingering plot point from throughout all of Journey into Mystery is going to come back and bite Loki in the ass to be the very last thing he has to deal with. Journey into Mystery is really a closed circle. And it's funny. It's like you read this and you don't feel like you're reading a Matt Fraction issue of Thor. You really just feel like you're getting a bonus issue of Journey into Mystery. I mean, Journey into Mystery enriches everything that it touches, you know? And, I mean, there's not much
I'm going to miss it, man. Oh.
There's not much point in me telling you to go out and buy this if you haven't been buying it already, because there's only one dang issue left. But, you know, go out and get the trades. Excuse me. So, of course, I think the last issue of Journey into Mystery is out next week, actually. So we'll definitely be taking some time to talk about that when it comes out, because...
Yeah, for sure.
You know, another one that definitely deserves a mention this week is Daredevil number 19, because this is the continuing story of how Daredevil seems to be going bananas. He's helping a nurse who has been arrested for the murder of a drug kingpin who was found with all the blood drained from his body in a locked office with no signs of struggle or injuries or anything, and she was the only person in there. But it also follows on from the fact that Matt's father's remains were found in his office by Foggy. Last issue, his crazy ex-wife Mila from the Brubaker and Bendis run turned up in his apartment when she's supposed to be in an asylum, and in the course of this issue, like, his billy club appears to disappear from its holster until he concentrates and finds it there again. So somebody's messing with his perceptions and his brain. And we know from the solicits that the culprit was a new villain who we can see on the cover of the issue, named Coyote, obviously, for the whole trickster aspect, the tricks that he's playing. But he is somebody we already know. And they're not shy about it. Like, they introduce him by going, Coyote is the new updated badass version of this character, and I'm not telling you who it is, because god damn, Mark Waid,
I really wish I would have picked this up.
I'll tell you guys after the show, but Mark Waid made this dude badass cool, and I really just can't wait to see where else it goes. I mean, this is not that Daredevil has ever slipped off of form or anything. If it had slipped off form, this would be a return to it. It's just the choice of villain, and it's the way that the darkness is ever so slowly creeping in around the fringes, which has always been the way with Mark Waid's Daredevil, because we know the whole idea is that Matt Murdock, is essentially putting on this happy face and actively ignoring all the bad shit that's coming at him from the future and that is in his own past. It's just creeping at the fringes, and as the run has gone on, those borders have just closed in a little bit tighter around Matt, and they're really getting into suffocation point now with this one. While at the same time, the book, through just the approach it takes, doesn't lose any of the charm or anything that it's had, and it doesn't feel like it's betraying its Silver Age swashbuckling outlook because of the whole attitude and choice of villains. And, you know, Hank Pym is in this, helping him do shrinky brain science. You know, that's not probably something that would happen in Brubaker's day.
No.
I'm not telling you who the villain is, so you should really pick it up just to check it out. It's a real see it to believe it kind of thing.
Awesome.
And I think that's
Cool.
for this week, yeah. Oh, also in Ultimate Spider-Man this week, Miles Morales just continues to prove why he's a good little dude.
Cool.
He's just a good little dude who does what's right and proves to Captain America that even Captain America can be wrong about some dudes sometimes.
Wow.
But I really wish the comic would stop pretending that it was in any way a tie-in to this thing that's going on across the other Ultimate books.
Okay.
Cool.
So that leaves us with this enormous point one thing.
Yay, point one.
So Marvel
Yeah.
now, point one.
Now everybody remembers point one from last year, right?
Yeah.
In which
Yeah,
approximately 50% of the stories never had anything to do with anything.
Right.
Remember them twins that could control fire and ice?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember the trio for the Ultron War.
Yeah.
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 I don't even remember anything else that was in that comic.
God, what was it? Yeah. Where did the Fire and Ice kids go? Dead ideas. Okay.
So before we go into this one, that's something we can say about this, which is that all 6 stories in this are actively about to lead into new series starting soon.
Right.
Every
I mean,
one of these stories is not some big tease or some attempt to introduce some new characters or something. These are essentially extended trailers for new series that are about to start by the same creative teams that are doing the stories in this book.
yeah, in fact, if you picked up that retailer preview, the free copy that previewed, like some of that Ant-Man story was in that. So
Not this Ant-Man story.
yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Because I was like, oh, well, that's just the same thing. So, yeah. So some of it was, some of it wasn't. So
yeah, don't misunderstand that these are like just cropped pages from those series or anything. Like, these are all original stories.
correct. Yeah, these are true prequels, but or previews or whatever.
Pages
So,
taken from finished comics or anything.
I guess I'll try to go through this, and
Yeah.
we'll see how we do. Okay, so the story starts out with Hill, Fury Jr., and Coulson talking about some dude that they apprehended, who apparently played the stock market for like an hour and made a ton of money. So he seems to be he says he's from the future, I guess. They apprehended him and asked him where he's from, and he said, I'm from the future. And they're like, what? And they're like, it's more common than you think. Which is great. She's just like, it does kind of happen. And they're like, well, he wants information, but he wanted to talk to Nick Fury, apparently. Of which this Nick Fury is sort of he's just an agent Nick Fury, I guess, at this point. So they haven't put him, full on, head of anything.
One would hope that won't happen.
He has a nice suit that accents all his special muscles. And
Yeah. Well, you remember that? Remember that Steve Rogers uniform? Yeah, they just sort of put it on Nick Fury
Yeah.
Jr.
Yep.
That's basically what it is. So, so this dude, we're never really told who this guy is. I
No, we
guess.
don't get a name for this guy.
No,
But
not yet. That's why you got to pick up next issue so you know
Right.
who he is.
well, and I don't know when we would find out if what, but he starts going on.
171 apparently.
Well, inmate, yeah. So he starts going on about how he's like, yeah, I'm from the future, which he says about 100 years, I guess, is what he says. That put him a little bit past the 2099 days, But and he's like, look, I could tell you what's going to happen, but you wouldn't believe me and you wouldn't do anything about it because, that's what happens, You warn people about stuff and they're like, oh, that would never happen. And then it happens and they're like, holy crap, we should have known, So I'll just tell you stuff that's kind of going on. And that's how we break into these vignettes where, 20 years ago in Wisconsin, there's a boy and I don't know what his mother, let's see what the mother tells him to wash up for dinner. He goes inside. She sees lights coming in from the tree line. And I guess these are Skrulls
I think they're maybe
Or-
Badoons.
or something. I have no idea.
Yeah,
Anyway.
they're different looking.
They're speaking another language. And
I think that's the same scribble that's been used for the Badoons over in Avengers Assemble recently.
okay.
I mean, I don't look at them and they don't scream Badoons to me, but it looks like Bendis is intending to use the Badoons as the baddies for at least the first bit of his Guardians of the Galaxy series that he's going to be doing. So this is the trailer for that. Spoilers.
They say this one is called Meredith Quill. Is that supposed to mean something? Because I'm out of my...
Quill is Star-Lord's surname. This is the story
Okay.
of teenage Star-Lord.
Okay. See, I'm totally out of the loop on Guardians stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, they slag her, and they come into the house, and the kid's like, holy crap, and they shoot at him, and he runs, and they shoot at him again, and grabs a shotgun out of the closet and kills them both. Meanwhile, after...
He got 2 with 1 shot, man.
He's pretty good with the shotgun.
Not bad.
Considering they're wearing space armor. Anyway, as he looks over into, or something falls out of the closet, and there's a gun-looking thing, and I guess that's a familiar-looking Star logo.
The Star-Lord symbol.
Yep. And so then the house blows up.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay!
And he's crying for his mom
Yeah.
as the house is blown up. Okay. Meanwhile,
It's so fun. Well, I mean, if we want to take each one of those as they come,
Yeah.
this one is fine.
yeah, I mean,
It is very much before title card sequence. Probably more so than anything else in the book. This is the cold open of a story that really doesn't tell you anything except to make you go, ooh, and then
Me
never
knowing
want to read
nothing.
the rest of it, you know.
Yeah, me knowing nothing and reading that, I'm like, well, that's weird. That
Very
sucks.
nice art, though. Nice art from McNiven on that.
Oh yeah, the art's great on it. No, for sure.
Yeah, I'm liking the art.
So yeah, it was just a little like, wow, that totally sucks for that kid. I hope he does something about that. See what happens.
Maybe you grow up to become a superhero
Could be, maybe with a
in
gun,
space. Maybe.
with a space gun.
Wait a minute.
So yeah, so there's this Nova guy.
Yeah, then there are like these 10 blank pages, and then it jumps back to.
And there's the. Okay.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I gotta say this little. I don't know what it's supposed to be. Nod, I guess, would be the kindest way to put it. But this third panel is like, really? That's
Yeah,
really what you wanted to
really.
do?
I get it. It's
You-
like Nova's flying across America, going, "Isn't it brilliant that Thor asked me to be an Avenger?" Hoo-hoo. And he flies across Missouri, and then he flies across Littleton, Kansas.
Littleton.
Littleton. Now you'll pay attention because that'll be relevant in a second. Where a
Right.
man with glasses looks up and says, "Look, Pa, a flying man." And his pa says, "I see it, son, but I don't believe it."
Littleton, as in
It's
Smallville.
not Smallville.
It's Littleton.
Because it's apparently 1960 when slipping pop culture references to Superman into comics was hip. The fuck.
I'm
We're
like,
already off to
really?
a bad start, kids.
I know, like, third panel and you're already made me groan. This is not good. Yeah. So he fights a guy that, has anybody heard of him in a while?
Yeah, Diamond Head was pretty much Nova's arch enemy.
Yeah, but when was the last time he did anything?
I don't know.
Exactly.
He's frozen in face for so much of this story.
Yeah, anyway, they
You
sort
know,
of...
it's like, I'm going to fight you because you're Nova, and I know you're not the old Nova, but I'm going to fight you anyway.
Because he made me lose my hand, but I got it back, but whatever.
And
Which
then
even says, which is like the worst, because it's like, even when your characters are referencing that this is stupid, there's a problem.
I mean, I could have shat this script out on the toilet.
God.
Like, lovely McGinnis art.
Oh, yeah.
A little weird in one or two places, like O-Face Diamond Head as he punches Nova on the double-page spread. But, you know, it is truly all the worst bits of Loeb. With like big double-page spreads of nothing and big dopey dialogue, cartoonish action, characters punching, nothing happens.
God.
And let's not forget this Nova is named Sam.
Yeah.
It's not. Yes, I can safely say I will not be picking this series up.
No.
But I didn't have to read this to know that.
No need for that. God. Okay.
I was impressed. I like the beginning story.
Yeah. So we're back to the man from the future. And, and what's he talking about? The heroic age. What gusto? Yeah, heroic age. That worked out well. For Marvel, and then New 52 happened. But anyway, so I love that in the other room, Mira Hill is like, all right, give me files on Kang, Mortis, whichever time people. I'm like, time people?
You know what I mean.
Everyone from H.G. Wells forward.
It's going to be a big stack.
Which tells you what's wrong with my world these days. But anyway. And then he mentioned something called the Ascendant. Which sounds ominous, you know? And then talking about heroes growing up fast. Then we have... here we go.
Yeah.
Miss America. Talking about being on Earth 212.
212. I don't know what's going on here. You know, this is an intriguing preview for starters because it immediately kicks off with this character, Miss America, who you won't remember from Vengeance because nobody read it. A couple of years ago.
She was in the last Marvel Zombies.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Marvel Zombies Destroy.
Now, did she wind up stranded in another universe at the end of that, or?
No, she ended up dead.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it wasn't really her. It was another universe version of her.
It was her. It was because this is a younger version of her in this story. Because she was older in Marvel Zombies Destroy. So.
Yeah.
Well, so first of all, like, we don't know how she got stranded on this other universe.
Well, it
Which
seems like
is not
she's universe
idiot-
jumping, even though. Is it? I almost got the impression she's been sort of universe hopping, or reality hopping.
She's hopped at least once. But I read in an interview with Gillen that this universe 212 is just an infinite Manhattan.
I could tell that because you see a lot of different. You see a lot of
little statues of liberty.
Yeah, and a lot of versions of like the Empire State Building. Some smaller, some taller, you know, spreading across the skyline. So, yeah. Wow. Anyway.
So that's a mystery that'll need to be gone into.
So apparently she gets invited to Korean barbecue with Loki.
Yeah, that's right. It's little Loki. He's not going to get back into an adult.
I love little Loki.
He's not going to become an adult again at the end of Journey into Mystery. That's all I need to know.
So, yeah, and so they have a lovely conversation where he's trying to invite her to come back and talking about, hey, there's this kid Wiccan, and, he's the son of the Scarlet Witch, and, you ought to come back and join my team. And she's like, no. And he like, his line here is kind of ominous, because, like, well... Wouldn't it be better for the whole... I'm sorry, you have to read it. I can't do it.
Well, what did he see saying about... This is Billy Kaplan, goes by the name of Wiccan, most relevant to our purposes. He's the son of the Scarlet Witch. Has the potential to be... Well, you know all about the potential he has, don't you? Wouldn't it be better for the whole multiverse if he just... wasn't around anymore? It's like, what's going... I mean, this thing is immediately setting up mysteries. Why does Miss America have any connection to or knowledge of Wiccan?
Yeah.
What has happened to the Teen Brigade, and why is she stranded in this other universe? You know, what's Loki doing? Why is he trying to do this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Questions are posed.
And then she just beats the hell out of him.
His suggestion is taken the wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah. Of which she's great, because she's like, wait, Tris, I'm good for the damages. And this just lays into him. Of course, he uses like a teleport and, teleports himself away, of which one of the waitresses is like, he's a kid. Like, he's a god. He can rip the arms off of just about anybody in here. Except for me.
I loved it. I love that part.
It's great. So anyway, she has no interest, but apparently that went about the way that he wanted it to. So, yeah. So he's starting up a new Young Avengers.
Yeah.
Yay!
And it's like he speaks out at the audience,
Mm-hmm.
Loki's greatest hit. Maybe you could help. And he hands it's a little piece of paper. It's like the sort of thing you'd pull off of off of a lamppost or a bulletin board. Wanted, young Avengers. Are you young, wild, free, only able to buy beer with a fake ID? Do your hobbies include saving the world all night, then trying to find a place that does a good 5 a.m. breakfast? We're looking for hip young beam slingers of every variety. Careerists need not apply. If this isn't your vocation, you're in the wrong place. And there's a little checklist of all the things that he needs.
Mm-hmm.
When you think, I hadn't really thought about it, but then you realize like what he's trying to put together is, a super strong Stars and Stripes type character, an Asgardian, a Hulk, a magic user, a bowman, a Kree warrior, all the great Avengers stereotypes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And who's putting the Avengers together? Loki's putting the Avengers together.
Crazy.
Like Loki did originally.
Yes.
So it's little Loki putting that spin on the deeds of Loki, but good and not bad.
Trying to be good, yeah, not bad. So,
yeah.
Awesome.
One rich girl with no powers whatsoever, and a bow. The bow is important.
And then we lose Nicole.
Oh.
Hopefully she'll be right back. All right. I guess we'll just keep moving on. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Because we want to get through this. Ant-Man is the next story.
Kids. It's Ant-Man.
And then it ends up being really fucking dark for a minute. Because there's this, beautiful little story about, why can I not remember his name at the moment?
Scott Lang.
Scott Lang, thank you. Scott Lang with his daughter, and they're having a fun moment as they're drawing mustaches and things onto pictures of themselves in the Mona Lisa and talking about how crazy it is. And then, I remember that time that she got killed by Doctor Doom.
Yeah, so few people are actually gonna know, because the Children's Crusade fell off so many people's radars because it took so long to come out, but it did kill Cassie and bring Scott back.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was fun. So then we get this great,
good time.
Wow, that was great. For him, not. So we get this whole I guess I could go through it, but it's great because he a lot of talking out of his head of being, with this size, then this happens, and he's hiding out on an eyelash, and then gets attacked by an eyelash mite thing that's on everybody's eyelashes.
That was kind of disgusting,
Yeah. And, he's talking about changing his size to do things, and he's got this little, hover stick things. I don't know. Kind of
Science little thing.
Kind of cool. But,
the micro mag rig, he calls it.
Yeah. And
Which is kind of a handy thing, because really, it's handier than having to rely on calling up an ant to fly for you.
Yes. Yeah, and because you have to be a certain size, but he can change sizes with this, so... And then, gets attacked by Doom's nano security death bot things, which he basically gets a dude to eat.
That's Johnny Storm.
Oh, that's Johnny Storm. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's Johnny, because the girl in pink with the pink hair that he's with, on whose eyelash Scott sneaks in, she's going to be Miss Thing whenever we get to that.
Oh, that's the girl that's going to be Miss Thing. Okay, I didn't put that together.
It took me a while to get that joke name as well.
Yeah.
Miss Thing. It took me a while.
Yeah, I didn't realize that's who that was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed that, but okay. Anyway, I'm not still thinking Fantastic Four. For some reason, I don't think Scott Lang when I think FF still, so it's going to take me a little bit of time.
Most of what he did before joining the Avengers under Jeff Johns and then dying under Bendis was spend time with the Fantastic Four during the DeFalco run in the 90s.
Yeah, so I was not around for that, so that's why I didn't.
Or was I?
I just don't. That's why I say I wasn't reading and I haven't gone back, so I just don't think about it that way. But anyway, great ending of this as it ends up the whole deal flying across the room for half the night was to basically deface a Doom painting.
Which is awesome.
For as dark as it has that little bit of dark start out, and then it ends up. With that, and it's that's.
I think that could be really indicative of where we're going with FF. There could be some real zaniness mixed with some real grimness in there, and I think that would be good.
Yeah.
Grimness and Fantastic Four. I see what you did there.
Oh. Wow. That's what we did. That's
I see what you did there.
nice. So, our future dude is, talking again, I guess. And I don't know what. It gets kind of
He's
repetitive.
just doing a lot of future rambling.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of
Yeah.
like future rambling and not really saying
I'm not the only
anything.
one to drop in from the future trying to save everyone. No, am I?
Yeah.
Maybe the two of you could talk. Eye patches. Bond.
So I had hoped.
Lark.
Do people remember that Forge exists?
I think Forge has been doing something, I don't know what or where, but I believe that Forge's situation, as he appears in this final story of the thing, is picking up from wherever it was Forge left off when he last appeared. I have been led to understand.
Yeah.
I don't know where that was, I don't know, don't ask me, Xbooks, Forge, etc. So suffice it to say, I went into this last story with less than great interest. Knowing as I did from the cover and what your man had just said there, that it was going to be about Cable and is a lead into Cable and X-Force.
Yeah. But it was Forge, so I was okay with it.
Yeah.
I was okay with it at least for a minute, because it's like, I like Forge for whatever reason. I don't know why. Probably it's the Tinkerer thing. I like when Forge is done really well, though. I don't like Forge where it's like, my concept of like the way Forge's powers work, and what I like, which is pretty much how this works, which is that he just really has no idea what he's doing. It is sort of...
It's intuitive.
Yeah, it's intuitive. And it's so much so that he can't even comprehend what it is he's looking at. It just sort of... His fingers do the walking. You know what I mean? It's just like, and magic happens, and you have a teleportation device. You know, it's like, that's how Forge works. And so in this, it's like a whole deal where you can tell he's a little off his rocker. And,
He's off secluded somewhere in like the middle of a mountain or a desert or somewhere in this ramshackle thing that he's cobbled together.
Yeah, and it's like...
And then in the middle of it all, he finds this ridiculous machine that he didn't build, but he calls it ridiculous because it's made by, what does he say? Where is it? It's like a child. It's like a child's idea of a machine built from random pieces of every machine: clockwork, giant gears and cogs, micropressors, computer components, hydraulic parts. All, but it's like the archetypical. It's like you said, children's cartoon image of a machine full of gears and circuits that don't make any sense on a physical level. But he can understand it, and he makes it fit together.
And he like fixes it. He like makes it all kind of work, and then brains start shooting out of places.
Brain!
And then he like gets it all put back together, and pulls the lever, and everything's fixed. And
all the machine just sort of chops around the brain and gets the brain compartmentalized in there.
Yeah, and then he's back where he started.
Yep.
And it turns out that basically he was fixing his own brain, so now he's not crazy anymore. But
Cable appears, and
Yeah.
it's like, good deal. And Forge realizes Cable used his telepathic powers to send Forge inside his own head and view his machine as a brain, so that he fixed the machine and in turn fixed his own brain. And I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a neat idea. Good stuff.
Yeah. And then it's like, then the story ends, and it says, now that you fixed you, how about fixing me? And I turn the page, and I'm going to go, oh, it's Cable.
Yeah.
It's like, it appears to be Cable without the techno-organic virus in him.
Yeah.
Because he's got a flesh and blood left arm that's all atrophied and palsied in a sling and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Oh.
I'm still not going to read Cable and X-Force, but this was actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's like, it definitely caught you off guard a little bit. You're like, huh.
I had absolutely no interest in this story, knowing that it was Cable. I was at least remotely interested in all of the other stories that were in the thing. Not so much. Well, I suffice to say, I already knew that Nova was going to be awful, but I just thought the Cable one would be boring, because I don't really like Cable very much. But this is a damned clever little story with a neat little twist on the end that I don't think I'm going to buy Cable and X-Force, but I'll at least take a look at it.
Yeah, I might pay it more mind than I was going to.
I mean, this story's by Dennis Hopeless, who is the guy that did Legion of Monsters, if you recall, and is the guy who will be doing Avengers Arena as well.
Mm-hmm.
So just another little affirmation of the fact that, hey, it's pretty good.
Yeah. And then confusing shit happens, and I don't really understand what the hell is going on. Because
Future Man says a word. Kobik, and that's like it's like
Future Man, I like that.
Well,
that'll do. That can be his name, Futureman. John Ira Futureman.
Yeah. God.
It says a word, but that just sets off all the alarm bells. Figurative alarm bells at S.H.I.E.L.D. and all these armed guys burst into the room.
And then
it's not him, it's inside
of him.
And then they start shooting him, and then
Each other.
They start shooting each other, and then Coulson shoots a dude. It's confusing, but then the implication seems to be at the very end. Something was in the guy from the future and jumps from soldier to soldier, causing them to shoot each other. And Coulson figures out which one it is and shoots him.
Right. But yeah, okay. And then the word is like what?
Kobik.
And that means something to them, but not us. Doesn't even mean anything to Nick Jr.
Doesn't mean anything to Nick Fury either, which is good. Because, and that's their next mission.
Is that going to be Secret Avengers? Is that what?
Yes, that is Secret Avengers. I think I forgot about that when we were talking about how Secret Avengers was joining Marvel now in the news last week. But Secret Avengers is starting over from #1 in February. It's quite far away, actually, comparatively speaking. It's in February, along with Nova and Guardians of the Galaxy, and it is going to be. I mean, it's another thing we were grumbling about was the fact that they've done Nick Fury Jr., but they have no place for him and no reason for him. And Secret Avengers is a book that kind of is without purpose as well. So, hey, two birds, one stone. Maybe Secret Avengers, something to pay attention to. It's going to be the Nick Fury Jr. book, and it's like, hey, that's good. Yeah, I like that. That's good. It won't be filled with cast-off characters from the other Avengers books trying to look for somewhere to be. No.
But I overheard or heard someone talking, and I don't know how true it is, that Secret Avengers was going to be like they would do a mission and then be mind wiped and then not know that they did it.
I don't know.
I don't know about that. So I heard someone said that, and I don't know if they were talking off the top of their head or that was what they read. Mm-hmm. So that would be weird. But yeah.
But did all 6 of these stories lead us into FF #1 in November, Young Avengers in January? Wait a minute, 11 of the FF #1 in November. Yeah, FF #1 in November, Cable and X-Force in December, Young Avengers in January, and Secret Avengers, Nova, and Guardians of the Galaxies in February.
Yeah.
Holy crap, relevance.
Wow, in a 0.1, nonetheless.
It certainly has. It beats out last year's 0.1 by a 3 mile.
God,
The really interesting thing is that the background illustration on this page that shows you the covers of all of the issues is art from the Ultron War.
Really?
Yes. And there is this piece of text at the bottom that says this is going to happen and there's nothing we can do to stop it.
Whoa.
Maybe it'll happen at some point.
Someday.
Maybe.
That will happen.
Yeah. So, overall.
Wow. Good 0.1, though. I mean, kind of weird. I don't know what Kubik means, but Kobik or whatever.
Right.
Apparently
overall,
no one knows.
Pretty good, really. I mean, the only one I'm actively going to talk down is the Loeb Nova one because...
Well, it was awful. I mean, even if you didn't know that was Loeb, I mean, you would... I don't know how a normal person could read that and go, oh, that sounds fun. Because... Really? Really? So...
Yeah.
All right.
No, everything else, I mean, the Bendis one is probably... Next to the Nova one is probably the slightest one. It is really the number 0 before the opening title. Tell you nothing, build up the suspense like as a total, just no context thing that happens, and then the story is going to jump 20 years up till he's an adult and pick up from there. Anyway, the Young Avengers one is. It's hard to describe. I mean, it actively goes out of its way to set up mysteries. It's very much a teaser. You know, it's something that's actively supposed to be intriguing you with its mysterious points. and it's about the story rather than the little bits of story rather than the big scope that the Bendis Star-Lord one is. The Star-Lord one is kid aliens, boom, that's it.
Yeah.
And the young Avengers one is there are little questions and mysteries being asked and forming that have my attention. Ant-Man is a nice
It's
little
a quest.
Well, it is a bit questy. It's Loki it's a team builder, you know.
Yeah.
And the Ant-Man one is fun because it's basically a complete little story.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know where we're going. I think the closest we get to understanding FF from this is just thematically. And if the theme of this can carry on, I'll be interested in it. And we'll talk more in depth there about the Cable and X-Force one, which is that actually seems kind of interesting. What happened there?
Yeah, I mean exactly. And it's like, whoa, that could be.
And then it's really hard to say very much about the Nick Fury bit because it is just a bridging sequence that gets very oblique and mysterious at the very end.
Yeah.
Without really having earned it.
Yeah, it does seem.
Go to the very end. It's not like the fact that a guy came back in time with knowledge of the future and wanted to tell Nick Fury that was enough on its own as a story. No, he's being possessed by some kind of parasite that jumps from people to people with a mysterious code word that's going to prompt him to join the Avengers. It's a bit much all at once.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know that word has any kind of connection to anything else.
Not that I'm aware
that I'm
of.
supposed to know what that is. Kobik. Maybe Google will help me in for just a second. Let's see. Maybe.
I wouldn't expect it to.
Maybe. I don't know. No. Doesn't seem to be jumping out anything.
Doesn't seem like that sort of thing. That sort of hint.
Oh well.
But overall, a pretty decent issue. I mean, obviously you have to go in reading it on the understanding that you are getting a bunch of trailers.
Yeah.
It's not in any way, shape, or form a complete comic. You know, it is a collection of slightly above previews. But
yeah, I mean,
given that I am getting at least 2 of the books out of this, and have at least been intrigued enough by 1 or 2 others to look at them, I think it's fairly successful overall.
Yeah, I mean, even though one of the stories was sort of already seen in that preview, or part of it anyway, was already seen in the free preview. Hey, Marvel did a great job of convincing me to buy a preview book, and and it actually worked out pretty well. So
I actually got the retail incentive one in this one.
Now, what was that?
It's like the little chibi characters. It's almost like Teen Titanish.
Oh, the X-Babies.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what the cover of that one looks like.
I thought that was so dang cute. I'm like, okay, I gotta get it. Yes, I'm a sucker.
Cool. All right. Well, there you go, kids. There's a full show for you. Yeah. So we had video sort of mostly through this episode.
I think I just cut out.
Yeah, and Chris is frozen a little bit. So.
He's got a very mischievous look on his face right there.
I'm seeing him just.
From when I was doing some Loki dialogue.
I'm seeing him just looking down. So most people just get him looking down, which is kind of funny. But anyway, so that's our show. Check out the website, fanboyversus.com. Follow us on Twitter at fanboyvs. You can also get our individual Twitter feeds if you go to the main website, which is tfradio.net. So yeah, so there's that.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll get Triplette back next week, as we usually do after a brief break. But yeah. So any other news? Anything we should talk about before we head out?
Nothing that I can think of.
Next week or. So our first official Marvel now is FF, which is next month. Is that the first, or is there?
No. All the stuff starts in November.
Okay.
Cap, Iron Man, other things. Cap, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, FF, Fantastic Four, X-Men Legacy, all new X-Men. I think all those. Yeah, I think all those start in November.
Good times.
And then January is Avengers. Avengers Arena, Thunderbolts, and Uncanny X-Force, I think. No, that's December. Sorry, is Arena. Arena, Cable and X-Force, Thunderbolts, and Avengers. And then January is Superior Spider-Man, Savage Wolverine, and Uncanny X-Force.
Superior is like the only book that comes out. Or is it 700 the only book that comes out that week? I think Slot was saying.
I don't
the
know.
only Marvel book
Let's
that
see.
comes out that
So
week.
that's November. No, that's December. Well,
Yeah.
I guess it could be then in that case because they're doing some kind of Diamond aren't shipping that week. Same way it happened a couple of weeks. It was not last year, but the year before last, or maybe no, was it the year before that when DC only shipped Blackest
yeah.
Night that week? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Diamond weren't doing a shipment that week. So what they did actually was they shipped it to stores the week before. So that's probably, I guess if they're doing that with Spider-Man, maybe that, yeah, I didn't remember hearing that, but maybe they are doing that.
Slot mentioned it. He also mentioned they may be living next door to Ringo Starr, but
I saw that, yeah.
it was hilarious. He kept tweeting all morning and being like trying to convince himself almost that he was not living next door to Ringo Starr. But anyway, yeah. And if you enjoy interesting stuff, you've missed out if you haven't been following Dan Slott.
Yeah. He's just been retweeting all of the hate that he's getting, all of the mindless, directionless, completely knowledge-free hate that he's been getting over Superior Spider-Man.
So many opinions on a book that hasn't even come out yet, that we haven't even gotten to the lead-up to.
You are spitting on the work of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby by changing Spider-Man from Peter Parker.
Really? Jack Kirby?
Sorry, did I say that? I meant Steve Ditko.
I'm sure they said Jack Kirby, though. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying to you. I'm saying to them. Like, really? Anyway, so, yeah, you should follow Dan Slott on Twitter. That's a lot of fun. So, all right. So that's our show. Yeah, so for the group, for us, thanks so much for tuning in. And please tune in next time when it'll be Fanboy Versus...
This has been Fanboy Versus. Visit us at tfradio.net for show notes and to subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Twitter at tfradio for news and updates. Like the podcast? Leave us feedback on iTunes. Copyright 2011 Radio Free Cybertron.